Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Chee-Tash. My name is Chris, and today we're going to be going over the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Today, talking about Chapter 15, the Cardinal Rule of Behavior Change. If you guys remember, last time we finished out the third section of this book, which was dealing with the third law of habit making, which was how to make a habit easy. And this chapter is going to be starting the last section of the book, which is dealing with the fourth law of habit making, which is how to make it satisfying. So without further ado, let's just jump ahead. But before we do, guys, if you enjoy these videos, please like, subscribe, and share this with somebody who you feel like could get some value out of it. And hopefully you guys are getting value out of these book summaries and chapter summaries. So without further ado, let's continue forward with chapter 15. So James starts off this chapter talking about an anecdote with a public health worker named Stephen Luby, who travels to Karachi, Pakistan. And he's traveling there in order to help the city get over its issues with public sanitation and sickness, its public health problems, because Karachi's a big, bustling city, and at the time, this was like in the late 1990s, it was home to over 9 million people. But it's also a city with, at this time period, no waste removal, no clean water, it's got no electric grid, and it's just not very livable. So because of that, lots of infections and lots of sickness spread throughout the city because people are using contaminated water sources. The city's dirty in and of itself. People aren't washing their hands properly, etc. And lots of disease and sickness are spreading. So that's why Stephen goes there to, offer guidance and try to get the people there to take public health measures that will make a positive impact on their life. But when he gets there, he sees that, hey, people already wash their hands. And that's the number one thing that he wanted to do was, okay, washing your hands is simple. It doesn't take that long, and it's going to make an immediate impact. But what he found was that people were already washing their hands. What people were lacking were the consistency in washing their hands. So what they did was they would give people foaming soap. Now, I remember foaming soap being advertised here to me when I was a kid as like a fun soap. Hey, it's foaming, it's fun. You get to play around with it in your hands. And that's kind of what happened when they started introducing this in Karachi, Pakistan, was that people were they took to it. They thought, hey, this smells really great. Hey, makes washing your hands fun. And all of a sudden, the behavior started to stick. And from that, lots of health measures approved. So we had, the rate of diarrhea fell by like 52%. The rate of pneumonia fell by 48%. Bacterial skin infections fell by 35%. And it just goes to show, Stephen said, that it's not about changing a behavior, but it's about adopting a behavior. And you need to create a positive experience around a certain habit. Continuing forward, James ends up talking about how pleasure shows you that a behavior is worth remembering. And this is kind of what happens what happened when chewing gum was first introduced. And James talks about how when chewing gum was first introduced, that it was very bland. This was, I think we're talking like early 1800s or something like that, where chewing gum was first introduced. And it wasn't very popular because it was just very bland. It didn't really have a taste. It wasn't until 1891 when Wrigley Field, Wrigley gum, Wrigley had started to include flavors of gum, like spearmint and fruity flavors, juicy fruit, etc., that people really, really took to it. Same thing with toothpaste. I'm sure when toothpaste first started, it wasn't like what it is today. And now today you have all kinds of different flavors of toothpaste. I mean, I go to my dentist and whenever they brush my teeth, they have like 10 different flavors. I usually just get the mint one, but even so, even mint, doesn't it just leave your mouth with a cleaner feeling? You could use the same exact toothpaste without any flavoring to it, and you'd come away feeling, I mean, it was okay. But the fact that the toothpaste left your mouth feeling cleaner gives you a more positive experience and makes you more likely to do it again in the future. So the cardinal rule, the title of this chapter, what is that cardinal rule? Well, the cardinal rule of behavior change is what is rewarded is repeated and what is punished is avoided. And as James says here, the first three laws make it so that you are more likely to do the habit this time, but making it satisfying makes it so that the habit will be done again and again in the future. So, what is the difference here between habits right now and habits in the future? Or rather, the results or the impact of habits now versus the future? Well, we have a dichotomy in the way our world is today and what it was in the very long distant past. So compare just animals and us. For animals, decisions have an immediate impact. Animals aren't really thinking about the future. They're thinking about just the meal right now. What do they have to do right now to survive in the wilderness, in the wild? They're not thinking about saving up a bunch of meat for the future. No, they just want to get it right now because they live in a world where the decisions they make and the things that can affect them happen instantaneously. They can get attacked. They can get eaten. They're living very much so for the moment. But for humans in modern society, a lot of our decisions we make, we don't see the fruits of them until later on. It's a delayed return environment. Animals have an immediate return environment. Humans have a delayed return environment. So we're rooted to live in an immediate return environment just based evolutionarily on where we came from. We came from the environment of animals, the wilderness or out in the wild. But as we have moved into a modern society, our brains are still wired to look for the immediate gratification from our decisions. It's kind of hard for us. And I mean, we have probably grown accustomed to delayed gratification, but I think James is just talking about how evolutionarily things take time. And on the evolutionary time scale, humans are relatively recent. So we are still rooted in this immediate impact environment. It's what's called a time inconsistency. So the brain evaluates rewards inconsistently across time. So you value the present more than you value the future. So rewards that are immediate are going to gain greater precedence in your mind than rewards that won't happen for a long, long time. So think about it like this. Smoking provides an immediate relief over stress, but over time, it's going to cause a lot of problems in your body. But you're not really thinking about the long term because you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't quantify it. But the immediate relief, the stress relief, you get that right away. So it's a very, very powerful thing to recognize that rewards that are immediate, oftentimes there's consequences for them that are delayed. And it's not just smoking. Think about if you just spend thousands of dollars on jewelry right now versus saving for retirement. Yes, you get the rush and enjoyment of that jewelry, but then later on in the future, if you do that if you buy jewelry all the time, you're going to feel that in the future. You're going to feel that. So the costs of good habits are in the present, but the costs of bad habits end up being in the future, says James. So it's easier to choose the present you and feel good than choose the present, or excuse me, let me repeat that sentence. It's easier to choose the present than the future. You're living for your present self, not your future self. So the decisions that benefit you only in the future are harder to grasp. We really want that instant gratification, but if you can delay gratification, oftentimes this is going to lead to success. You can see this in a lot of different areas. If you delay watching TV to study, chances are you're going to have a better chance at doing better on your test. If you delay going out to party and hang out with friends for getting a work project done, chances are you're going to excel at work. There's a greater chance you're going to excel at your job. So, how do you turn instant gratification to your advantage? So if it takes a long time for the benefits to reveal themselves, which oftentimes happens with habits that you're trying to create and get yourself to do positive habits for your future, the benefits of that are going to take a while. So if you start exercising and lifting weights, after the first week, you're not going to feel anything. You're not really going to see your weight go down as much as you want to. You're still going to look the same. You might still feel the same. But it's going to, if you stick with it for like half a year, then you start to notice changes. So how do we take advantage of instant gratification for benefits that might take a long, long time? So good habits will feel worthwhile after they provide you with something. But again, a lot of times this isn't immediate. You want to save for retirement. If you take a look at your bank account after just a couple weeks, it's going to feel like you haven't even really contributed that much. But if over 10 years, all of a sudden you look at it, hey, looks really good. So you need to reinforce the completion of a habit so that you know it was worthwhile. So as an example, this works really well with habits of avoidance. So it's not that I want to do a habit, it's that there's habits I don't want to do. So like quitting smoking, right? You don't really get anything that you notice from stopping smoking, right? It's not like you get money deposit. Well, I'll get to that in a second, but it's not like you're not getting that stress relief, right? When you smoke, you get the stress relief, you get to relax, but when you don't smoke, you're not getting those things. So you don't really notice any benefit from not smoking. It's like you might as well just smoke, right? But what you can do is any money that you would spend on a pack of cigarettes, you can deposit it in your bank so that you can use that money towards something that also brings you joy. Like, what's a good example? Like a massage, right? So every time you delay or give up on smoking cigarettes by buying a pack of cigarettes, if you put that money towards a massage and then you go get that massage, well, then all of a sudden your brain is starting to link the two together so that the act of skipping out on smoking becomes satisfying because it brings about a great reward, versus if you just stop smoking and you just try to avoid it, now it just seems like you're just resisting it. And don't get me wrong, it's entirely possible to do that. I mean, people do that all the time, but it becomes, you're making things more difficult for yourself by doing that. And by no means is it, something, I don't think it's bad to do, but you just have to recognize that you're making it a little bit more difficult for yourself. Obviously, yes, I resist things all the time and it's tough. And I think there's value in it though. and being disciplined like that. But what James is saying here is that you reinforce those habits with something satisfying to get your brain to get that immediate gratification from something that might be delayed. And I have the example there of junk food too. Anytime you can go out to eat, maybe you have a fast food problem. Instead of buying fast food, you take that money and you put it towards, like a new video game or something, or a new book, or a trip, a vacation somewhere, so that you get the gratification immediately. Like, hey, I'm 1/5 of the way to buying that plane ticket to, Florida to go on my trip to Disney or something like that. So over time, your new identity accumulates, and then over time, your identity changes, you start to notice results, and then you become your own enforcer, and then you don't really need that instant gratification anymore. So if we use the gym example, over time, you go to the gym, and then you start to see the results of going to the gym. And then over time, you just go to the gym because you want to go to the gym, and it aligns with your future self. And that way you don't need the instant gratification anymore. Example of instant gratification from going to the gym. I don't know. Maybe like I hate to keep using this example, but every time you go to the gym, you go get a massage like later that week. Because assuming you're probably going to be a little bit sore, and massages are nice and comfortable thing to do. Yeah, maybe that's your reward for it. But then over time, you start to go to the gym, you don't need the massage anymore, because now the benefits are kicking in. You start to notice your waist is smaller, your muscles are getting bigger, etc. You become your own enforcer. So to summarize, the fourth law, again, was to make it satisfying. That's what we're going to be talking about in these next successive chapters. So we repeat what is satisfying. We like the instant gratification, and we have evolved to prioritize immediate rewards over delayed gratification. So follow the cardinal rule. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. So you want to get a habit to stick, you need to feel immediately successful after it, even though the benefits are going to be delayed. Hey, you need to feel the immediate benefits of not smoking. So have something that when you skip smoking, when you skip buying a pack of cigarettes, it'll make you feel good in the moment to then last until the actual benefits kick in. And again, the first 3 laws get you to do the habit now, but this last law will get you to do the habit again and again in the future. And with that, that's going to do it for chapter 15 of Atomic Habits. Guys, thank you very much again for listening. We'll be back again next time. And let me know if you have any questions on this book. Again, the podcast is out there for any interviews I've done with interesting people, authors, bloggers, etc. And if you like these videos or the podcast and you get a lot of value out of them, please like, share, and subscribe. My name is Chris. This has been Chee-Tash. Take care, everybody.